With the popularity of social media, which over time has surpassed traditional news sources, detecting if a news content is trustworthy is increasingly harder. Over the years, this has led distrust in the media, undermined democratic processes, and posed threat to society. Hello everyone and welcome to Our Voices. I am Simbanyi Oye and I'm joined by my co-hosts Oriane Itangishaka and Ginny Niwa. Today, we will be talking about the rise of fake news in Africa and community-based efforts to combat misinformation and disinformation on the continent. And this is part of VOA Africa Division's special series on Africa's information warriors. Hello, ladies.
Hello, hello.
Another topic here.
Yes.
So fake news has been a major, challenge in media industry, in the newsrooms. So tell me your experience. How has it affected your work and how do you deal with it? Oriane, let me start with you.
Sure, yeah, definitely as journalists and as a media house like VOA and many other major corporations that produces news, we have had an added layer of work in our jobs because it added an extra layer of checking everything. What had not been a major threat before, like misinformation and disinformation, now became a fact that we had to really look into it and say, hey, we have to make sure that the news that we put out is facts and is truth. Now, on the other hand, many people in the recent times had to really think about the fact-checking situation because some of the organizations that they respected and relied on to do fact-checking were in many cases politically motivated, as we see today announcements coming out. Two examples that I could say is during the recent presidential election when the internet went wild during the presidential election debate, when the Republican candidate, President Donald Trump, was deemed as way more fact-checked than the Democratic candidate, Kamala Harris. And also we saw that during we also saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic, when every single thing you said about COVID-19 was either flagged or a big message was sent to you, or simply you were kicked off of the platform for saying any medical tips or anything that was not coming from the government or any official site. So we do see a big pivot recently with the CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, saying that he is going to stop the messages that he usually sends on Facebook and that they're going to tone down the flagging down of messages from them and just not really fact check as much anymore. And people are saying that's an election effect or maybe a Trump effect because, he's definitely pivoting from a very different era that we were seing lately.
Yeah, I think that, talking about the format, I think the public do not have the tools right now because things are going very fast with this technology, digital media, deep fake. So the public is can be very easily misled. And so talking about things that, were obvious before to say, okay, this is a media. Right now, it's so easy to have a copycat media that you don't know whether it's a real, format or not. You see what I mean? Like, you will have, visually, things will look like news, but it's not. It's propaganda.
Exactly.
So I think that, the public is in...
I think you both really touched it well, and I agree with you that this is a big challenge for the media industry today, and this is what we will be discussing on our show. According to Africa Center for Strategic Studies, Africa has more than 400 million active social media users and 600 million internet users. Millions of people online rely on social media platforms for consuming news at the highest rate. But this comes with a challenge, as misinformation and disinformation are now the most pressing problems related to Africa's digital transformation. It affects society's ability to improve public health, address climate change, maintain stable democracy, and more. However, there are also new efforts popping up to address the fake news crisis on the continent. Africans are taking initiatives to address the complex problem of false information by holding public figures accountable and debunking dangerous false statements. On this week's edition of Our Voices, we will explore the need for robust and reliable fact-checking on the continent and how Africa's indigenous fact-checking community is countering misinformation by sharing the truth.
Absolutely. Ghana is facing a wave of harmful disinformation and misinformation, but some journalists are hoping to fight back with accurate reporting. Reporter Isaiah Kadelsi has this story from Accra, Ghana.
Kweku Asante leads a team of journalists at Fact Check Ghana, a project by the Media Foundation for West Africa based in the capital Accra. The team has the daunting task of fighting disinformation and misinformation in social media and in traditional media. Asante says he and his colleagues have no shortage of material to work on.
There's a lot of disinformation out there. You wake up in the morning and you see a lot of mentions and tag. Could you look into this for us? Is this accurate information? Is it really the case? Anybody here to help us? And then we come in here and say, well, we have verified it. This is what is the truth. This is not accurate. So this is the accurate information.
Fact-checking is Asante's passion, and for the past 5 years, he has worked to empower Ghanaians with accurate information.
It gives me a lot of joy, knowing that you are doing something that directly connects to bringing impact and direct influence on the people, because false information can have very dire impact. Look at COVID-19 when there was an influx of false information.
University student Portia Fafale Geja knows firsthand about the impact false information can have. She almost got duped after receiving false information on WhatsApp about Ghana's Vice President, Muhammadu Bawumia, giving out free cash.
So someone sent a link to me that Bawumia was giving out free money. So I just clicked on the link, did all the process, and it got to a point where I had to share on WhatsApp. I was sharing. At the end of the day, I never got the money. So it was there that I realized someone came to tell me that these news are fake, so I shouldn't just follow them. Because imagine the time I was using to share those links, I could have done something. And at that way, I was using my data, and I was sharing something that was very fake. I felt embarrassed.
Asante and his team deploy several digital tools to verify information. The Invid Fake Debunker is one of them, helping to authenticate the source of any video that is published online. Asante says more verification tools are available to help.
When it comes to videos, Invid Fake Debunker has always helped us in terms of pulling the frames from photos to help us do searches on videos. There's a new platform that's popped up, GeoSpy, combines both the Google platform for photos and geolocation, merged. Also really helps us.
Asante is not alone in this fight. Rabiu Al-Hassan has been a practicing journalist for more than 10 years now. He's the team lead at Fact Space West Africa, a fact-checking organization working to tackle misinformation and disinformation, as well as propaganda across West Africa. Ghana Fact is part of this organization. Al-Hassan says for him, fighting misinformation is more than just a job. He knows the harm that bad news can do to ordinary people, nations, and the entire West African region.
We are not too far off from having bad actors pay attention to what is happening in the country, identify the major fault lines, and try to exploit that. The reason why we are trying in our own small ways to make impact by helping newsrooms in setting up their fact-checking decks, by helping journalists be equipped with more skill set to be able to identify misinformation and tackle disinformation campaigns.
Al-Hassan and his team rely on several digital tools to support their work. Prominent among them is reverse image search on some images that circulate on social media. He is optimistic that fact-checking can keep pace with misinformation.
We are seeing more and more young people online, and there is more appetite by various actors to be able to control the narrative, just as we saw with mainstream media as well online. So our work has become very relevant, The future looks promising, and we are confident that we would contribute in our own small might to dealing with information disorder, not just in Ghana but across the continent.
Al-Hassan is now mentoring young fact-checkers to join his team.
I'm fascinated about the fact that I'm able to tell the public that beyond what the person has said or beyond what has been reported, I've been able to go further to know whether that is true or not.
At Fact Check Ghana, Asante also shares his skills with young journalists to make sure fighting disinformation becomes a core part of a journalist's job.
This was my first experience as a fact checker, transitioning from a fellowship held here, the NGID fellowship, and now working with Fact Check Ghana. Gichuhi has really been instrumental in my journey as a fact checker, because from the fellowship he was my trainer and now he's my editor. So he's really been very instrumental in my journey as a fact checker.
Isaac Kaleji, VOA Africa, Accra, Ghana.
Thanks, Isaac Kaledzi, for that report. Well, fact-checking is a verification method used to ensure that something is true. And the first independent fact-checking organization in Africa is Africa Check. This is an organization that has taken a responsibility to curb the spread of misinformation and disinformation on the continent. Joining us via Zoom is Grace Gichuhi, a journalist, researcher, and fact-checker at Africa Check, based in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Grace, it's a pleasure having you on Our Voices.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start by understanding the underlying trait posed by information sharing online. So what are the traits of misinformation and disinformation on the continent?
Well, misinformation in Africa undermines trust in institutions, disrupts democratic processes, and poses serious public health risks. For example, you'll find like when we're having like an election, there is a lot of misinformation around elections, such as allegations of rigging, vote buying, often circulating without evidence, and this erodes public trust in electoral systems.
I'm curious to know what kind of information, you just mentioned election, but what kind of other information is mostly manipulated, and how much is social media aggravated the problem?
Well, we're seeing there are very many kinds of misinformation going around at the moment. There is, for example, economic and job opportunities. For example, these fake job advertisements and scholarship opportunities targeting the unemployed youth. But at the end of the day, all these fake job advertisements they only extract personal information or just out to swindle you of your cash.
Right.
We are also seeing a lot of pyramid schemes and engagement-based scams. For example, like the one I just had where President Museveni was allegedly giving Ugandans 250,000 Ugandan shillings as a Christmas grant. But once you click on that link, you're told to give out your personal information, and at the end of it all, you're told to share this information to 5 groups on WhatsApp or 15 friends.
Right.
So basically, and you don't get your cash at the end of it all. So this is just an engagement-based scam. We also see a lot of political disinformation, where we see a lot of gender disinformation, where it is aimed at undermining the credibility of female candidates.
Right. So,
for example,
with that how would you say fact-checking contributing in countering this challenge on the continent? And how do you identify false information that needs to be verified?
Well, fact-checking combats misinformation by verifying claims and promoting accurate information. Fact-checking organizations use monitoring tools like CrowdTangle, Meta Content Library, and the Google Reverse Image Search to identify trending falsehoods. Yes, we also rely on reliable sources, publicly available data and collaborations with experts to verify these claims.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much. We are discussing new initiatives aimed at reducing the spread of misinformation in Africa. With us is Grace Gichuhi, journalist, researcher, and fact-checker at Africa Check. We'll continue our conversation in a moment. It's now time for a quick break, but first we want to remind you of our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, Instagram, X, and our handle is VOA Africa. Use the hashtag VOA Our Voices. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
Welcome back. You are watching Our Voices. Now let's go to Congo, where in the city of Goma, a group of Congolese journalists are battling a flood of medical misinformation that can have tragic consequences. VOA's reporter Zanem Nate Zaidi has this story from Goma, the Democratic Republic of Congo.
These journalists working in Goma are fighting a flood of false information about war and disease in a region plagued by conflict and health care challenges. Fact-checkers at the Congolese publication Eleza Fact fight misinformation, like the myth that mpox, previously called monkeypox, doesn't exist and is merely scabies. Aline Kataliko says their work is vital to public health and building trust.
There are rumors about monkeypox that say, for example, that the vaccine is aimed at the extermination of the Congolese people. We are already observing the dangers of these rumors as they can harm the whole community and prevent the disease from being eradicated.
Since 2021, the 25 journalists at Eleza Fact, including Joël Alimasi Kitambala, have been raising awareness about the dangers of misinformation.
To verify facts, we put in keywords, and every time there's a post containing these keywords, we get notification on all of the publication concerned. If they feel the need for it, they assign a fact-checker team member who starts working on the organization in question.
Eleza Facts articles are published on their website, shared on social media, and broadcasts via local radio stations to reach those without internet access. A lot of the misinformation involves medical conspiracies, similar to the one about Mpox. Journalist Joylene Kazimoto reported on misinformation about COVID-19 in these podcasts.
Kinshasa, la ville où j'habite,
in Kinshasa, the city where I live, I noticed a general reluctance on the part of a category of the population to join the fight against COVID-19, as many don't believe in the existence of this disease. Most of the people who are doubtful are those on the outskirts of the city.
Editor Daniel Makeke says these efforts are important in combating disinformation.
Nous sommes en collaboration avec certaines radios communautaires.
Radio stations relay the podcasts, which raise awareness of diseases and epidemics, how to get treatment, the truth behind the treatment, and the origin of monkeypox, etc. In this way, we can reach even those who do not have access to digital technology, who are being helped by the results of the verification work we are carrying out.
La vérité derrière le traitement, par exemple, du Mpox ou l'origine du Mpox.
Makeke says ElezaFact project's efforts help prevent the spread of false news, which can have harmful consequences. Zanemneti Zaidi, VOA Africa, Goma, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Thank you, Zanemneti Zaid, for that report. We also talked to residents of Nairobi, Kenya, about the impact of misinformation and disinformation and how they verify the information they consume. We have June Wanijiku, Lilian Anyukai, and Joy Esther in your voices.
Why? I think sometimes people feel the need to cause chaos, if I'm being honest. There are people who thrive in chaos. Personally, try and research more about it. Try and get the facts right before I jump into any conclusions. And I think everyone else should do the same.
Information mostly is either circulated on social media or also by word of mouth. Ignorance. So there's a lot of ignorance. People don't take time to really confirm if whatever they heard is really true or really exists. So they just believe it's that way. So people don't really go to look for the real information that should.
Misinformation spreads faster through social media, especially with the advanced technology. It's easier. The bad rumors go faster than the good ones. Yeah. Say since I'm a Gen Z, I'd say we have so much time on our phones, so much time on technology. The work from home is now becoming a norm. Yeah. So I'd put that into consideration. I do my due diligence. I'm good with research. I tend to take time to figure out the facts. With Google, you'll get so many. If you're Googling something, I'll take the most repetitive bullet points and getting everything and not ciphering them through.
Thank you for residents of Nairobi for sharing their thoughts. On Zoom, we have Grace Gichuhi from Africa Check to tell us more about fact-checking processes. So tell us, what technology do you use and what tools helps you to fact-check at Africa Check?
Technology is crucial for verifying information. Tools like TNI, InVid, geolocation tools help analyze content, tracking its origins, and assess authenticity. Social media monitoring tools help detect misinformation trends early.
So can you tell us what's the most challenging part of your work?
Well, I think the most challenging at the moment is volume of misinformation. Countering falsehoods faster than they spread can be hard at times. There's also limited access to information. Accessing reliable data in remote areas and verifying claims in closed or opaque systems can also be challenging. And also combating entrenched beliefs. For example, about the HPV vaccines, there's still a group of people who you can't convince they're good for them, and so they won't take their daughters for the HPV vaccine at all. Yeah.
Grace, how do you evaluate the impact of your work? Because obviously this is very important work. How do you evaluate the impact?
Impact is assessed through audience engagement, feedback, and behavioral change. Um, we, we hope that after we've published our our articles on the misinformation that is circulating on social media, we would hope that we've corrected the information that is circulating, meaning that there would be more vaccine, increased uptake in certain regions that have had a lot of vaccine hesitancy.
Grace, I have a question for you. Earlier, my colleague Oriane was mentioning that fact-checking can also be biased. So can it be biased, and how do you make sure that the content, the fact-checking you share is not also used for propaganda, for example?
Well, bias is mitigated through transparency, multi-source verification, and adherence to the professional ethics as stated by the IFCN. Organizations like Africa Check publish methodologies. Like when you read an article that I have written, you're able to scrutinize the process that I've used to reach my verdict.
Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing your thoughts and for joining us on Our Voices.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is where we end our show. We thank our guest, Grace Gichuhi, journalist, researcher, and fact-checker at Africa Check, for joining us. Be sure to watch Our Voices on our VOA website at voaafrica.com or on our YouTube channel, where you can catch up on the latest episodes and the world's top news stories. We'll see you again next week with another exciting program. Until then, thanks for tuning in.